So, if a company wanted to hire you but first decided to Google you or scroll through your social media profiles, would you still get that job? What are you doing to build and protect your brand in the age of social media? Well, to help us sieve through those issues is personal branding consultant and professor of public relations at Roger Williams University in the United States, Dr. Hume Johnson. Dr. Johnson, thanks so much for joining us here on Weekend Business Report. How are you doing?
I am very well. Thank you very much, Keneal.
Okay, let's dive right in. What are young people getting wrong in their use of social media?
Well, I'm a personal branding strategist, so I always start with what your brand is because your brand is really you, and it's a sum total of your skills and your expertise, your experience, your values, and your assets, and it's really how you come across to people. And so, the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he says that personal branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And so for me, young people are more focused on the number of likes that they get, the number of followers that they get on social media, as opposed to trying to build their brand in terms of what their real skills are, what their expertise is, what their experience is, and what their real principles, what do they believe in, what are their values, and what are the standards that they live by. And I think this is what employers are actually looking for. And if they're interested in higher education or any opportunity that they want to access in life, particularly on a professional level, then you want to offer more than how pretty you look and how many followers you have. You want to really stand out and to articulate something authentic and consistent, and something that people can respect, a persona that people can respect.
Now, instead of just seeking out likes and being so superficial on social media, how can they better leverage the power of social media in building their personal brand?
One of the things that I always tell clients, and not just young people, everyone, is to try to find what you're expert in and to be a thought leader. Because if you can have an impact or input rather on an issue, for example, any issues that are facing young people or millennials, issues that are going around in your society, and if you can be helpful, if you can be real, if you can be verifiable, if you can be consistent and offer meaningful information and participate meaningfully and purposefully in the conversations that are taking place in your society, then I think people can begin to perceive this individual in a new light. People also have to recognize their brand as authentic, and they can be influential people, but they also have to inspire people to take action. And if they have a voice which is consistent and is consistently positive and is consistently contributing positively in their own space, then it can drive people to action. I think young people also have to align their voice, the voice that they put out on social media, with their values. I see some people, I'm looking at some young people's Facebook posts in recent times, and they're cursing a lot on Facebook, and some of the things that they're saying is just very violent or very explicitly sexual. And I don't know that they're realizing that they're communicating who they are online. And it's not just young people, it's professionals as well. They have to be a little bit more conscious about what they put online. Because, for example, if you want to educate, because you have to determine what your brand is, if you want to educate, then you really don't want to put out certain things which are not in line with your brand as an educator. You'd want to be putting out information, or, every now and again you explain what a jargon means. Because if you're going to brand yourself like that, also engagement and having conversations. Joining conversations, joining groups that are engaged in real conversations, I think that will up people's brand online.
Do you think most people understand the value of personal branding?
Not yet. I think personal branding as an industry is a little over a decade old. And so people are accustomed to branding in terms of products because it's a word that is more familiar in the world of marketing. But if you think of your brand as a sum total of your experience and your values and your expertise, really who you are as an individual, then I think you would be a little bit more conscious. And I think these days, with the proliferation of social media, I think more people are realizing that they have a public persona, or at least a virtual persona. And sometimes that virtual persona is really not in line with who they want to be known for. So I think more and more people, as people learn about what personal branding is, and that whether you believe in personal branding, whether you are a follower of the tradition of branding, or whether you reject it or not, then you have a brand. It doesn't matter. You have a brand. Everyone has a brand, and your brand really exists in the minds of other people. And so, whatever people perceive you to be, you want who it is that you are projecting, or who you know yourself to be, is in line with how people perceive you.
Now tell us, Dr. Johnson, what are some of the key initial steps that an individual should take when it comes to building and protecting their personal branding?
I think one of the fundamental ways, I think I always have 5 steps to building your brand. One of the first ways is reflecting on who you are. You really have to do what I call an excavation project. You have to go back to what are your skills? What are you good at? What are the things that you do better than others, or what do you do differently? What do people compliment you on, so that you can figure out what your strengths are? You also have to figure out what your weaknesses are. And my brand new workbook, sorry for the little promotion here, but this is a strategic template that I created that allows people to kind of answer critical questions so that they can help to develop their own brand. So I focus on your strengths and what are things that you think you could do better, what are things that you could be working on, opportunities that you may not have been taking advantage of, such as social media itself. Can you be promoting yourself on social media in a way which is consistent with where you want to be in your career in 5 years, and some of the threats that may prevent you? Sometimes people feel like they don't have enough money to do certain things, but you don't need money to brand yourself. You need to begin with reflecting on it. You need to start articulating that brand online, and networking, simply joining local organizations, meeting influential people in your industry, supporting a cause, volunteering, doing a side gig. All of that is part of building your brand and then communicating that brand online, in person, and also on paper in terms of your resume and the material about you that you tend to put across to others in a professional environment.
We're almost out of time, Dr. Johnson, but before we go, just tell us a little bit about your book and where it's available.
My book is currently available on Amazon, and it's also available on the free Kindle app. And it's only $9.99, and it is the best investment you'll ever make in your personal development.
Dr. Hume Johnson, thanks so much for joining us here on Weekend Business Report. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Keneal. It was my pleasure.